The wider question is, does the next permanent manager, whoever he or she is, need to be good with the media? It comes after Lee Carsley himself said that his strength is coaching on the pitch and not necessarily talking to the likes of myself and Darren and Danny. And of course, it comes after we've had no issue with this for years and years and years, because Gareth Southgate was so measured and often very, very good with the media. Well, speaking of talkSPORT, the interim manager himself was asked how he can handle the media if he does get the job permanently.
I think it's definitely something that I can handle. I think it's, the England manager has obviously got, and head coach has got that responsibility. I think where my opinion is most valued is around football and how I see football and the English game, and not just the senior team, but the pathway. The amount of time now that I've worked for England, as I've seen 4 or 5 different generations of players now that are coming through in different age groups. So that's my strength.
Darren, I guess I need to ask you this question first, because it would be putting our heads in the sand to say it doesn't matter about the England manager's ability in front of the media, because if it's bad, that becomes the issue itself. Lee is clearly, he's a smart guy, and but he doesn't automatically appear to be as comfortable with it as, say, Gareth Southgate was. What these days is the relationship? What do you want from the England manager when you're a newspaper editor?
It's a good question. I mean, there are a couple of points that Danny made to me privately that actually I don't want to steal his thunder on, so I'll let him make those
over
points
a pizza.
It was a very tasty burger.
Oh, we haven't had another one since. No, okay, right.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
But it was a very real education over a very tasty burger. But in all seriousness, I'll just make this separate point, because I thought this before Lee got the interim job. I do think personally he should have the full-time job, because essentially the game is about winning. But I would say there's an interesting kind of point of difference between the two, because Southgate was terrific off the pitch in relation to issues that were of national importance at a really important time for the nation. Now, I was just making the point that as far as Southgate is concerned, he's raised the bar of what's expected of an England manager, just because of the way that he was able to deal with so many difficult subjects which affected the nation, the players, from mental health to race to George Floyd, all of the different things that came up during his reign. He was outstanding. He managed to bond a group of players that had been fractured. A lot of players, as Danny knows, and so many of the people listening to the show know, a lot of players didn't want to turn up for international duty. There were cliques in the squad, and he brought it together. It was a real club feel to it. So Southgate did a superb job away from the pitch. Lots of people have their own views about what happened on the pitch. He was too safety first. He didn't take fast enough decisions in difficult moments in the game. So he wasn't a winner. He took us to the brink, but he wasn't a winner. Carsley's a winner. And that's ultimately what you want from your national coach. But I do think that he will need to have some of the things that Gareth had as well, because Gareth was superb in front of the cameras, the microphone. And to be fair to Lee, the FA senior team, press team are superb at being able to judge the mood, judge the moment, arm the England manager with the right things to say at the right times as well. So he's surrounded by a terrific team, but he will need to grow into that role if he's going to make a success of the job.
Dan, I wonder what you think about it. Just I don't know Lee Carsley. I did a week of kickoffs with him, so I have met him and spent some time with him. And my only advice to him would be, and this is tricky, is to be yourself. If he's not comfortable with being a social commentator in the way that Gareth became very comfortable, then probably he does best to avoid it. But overall, what do you think? Because we've had such a mixture, haven't we? Sven-Goran Eriksson largely very well in with the press. Terry Venables, until he wasn't, really well in with the press. They never liked Capello, never really got to grips with him, partially, I guess, because the language barrier was so difficult.
Well, he was a tyrant.
And he was a tyrant. Thank you very much indeed.
Can I just say before Danny answers,
yeah.
and you will know this anyway, Dan, anyway, but just for people outside, the press corps changed over a lot of years. So some of the managers you just mentioned, they would have been head coaches or managers during the time of a very different group of journalists to the ones that are
Absolutely.
senior journalists now, who are very even-handed, who are very open-minded, who establish relationships and work to build on those relationships, and many of whom will have followed Lee throughout his time as under-21 coach on the way to winning the European Championship at that level as well.
Danny, I mean, it is important this how he gets on with it. Now, what he says is a separate thing, but it is important he gets on because Darren's rightly pointed out there, the world has changed. Anything the England manager says, which would have been to about a dozen newspaper journalists 30 years ago, is now to the whole world because of the way social media amplifies everything.
Yeah, I think charisma and warmth and being able to deal with the media really well helps you when you need to paper over the cracks. I think it gives you popularity, and if you're good at deflecting at times, can give you extra time in a job if you're brilliant with the media. I think that's true. Now, if you're really good at what you do, and his strength is, as he said, as a coach and getting a team to play good attacking winning football, then being so good with the media isn't as relevant. I actually think it's less important to be great with the media as an England manager than it is with a club manager. Because I think you're doing it more as a club manager and there's more room for error. I think with England, you can pretty much be pretty PC with what you say because you have to be. You're working for the FA. Granted, Gareth did have a lot of topical issues he had to deal with. I'm not convinced I wouldn't, as a player or a fan, want my manager to be too... what's the word? I wouldn't want him to be like an MP and have an opinion on everything.
The only problem with that, just to more put it to you to answer, is that when you are the England national team head coach, your press conferences aren't populated only by football journalists.
But that's your choice.
Well, it's not.
It is.
But
you don't have an obligation to speak on some of the subjects Gareth spoke on.
You don't, and that's the thing.
He absolutely
doesn't. But those
doesn't.
people would still be there, whether you choose to engage in the question or not.
People can ask you whatever you want. If you ever... I mean, I know we're talking about club managers, but let's talk about the best managers in the world over the years. Mourinho, Klopp, Guardiola. Do you think they get railroaded in talking about talking subjects they don't want to talk about?
But
they
then
won't talk about
But Klopp, for example, he's so loved by Liverpool fans and neutrals in many respects.
But he's loved
precisely because he did speak about some stuff that didn't have anything to do with what was on the pitch.
The icing on the cake of any manager is if he's warm and charismatic and knows how to speak to media and fans, right?
Sure.
That's the icing on the cake. But the cake is made with the football on the pitch.
I totally agree.
So,
we're agreed on that.
So yes, in an ideal world, you'd want Lee Carsley to be better than he is now with the media because he's a bit rigid and a bit cold. I don't think that's deliberate. I think it's just who he is, and he's new to it. There's got to be some nerves. There's got to be, Jesus, this is a big deal. I've got to make sure I don't say anything too stupid.
Absolutely.
And he's not... I think you'll see him evolve. I hope we do, where he's a bit more warm and a bit more humorous because people like that. It's engaging. So you want him to be engaging, but ultimately what will engage him is the team playing good football. Games. And what will disengage him from the fans is playing crap football.
You know, listen, we've been talking about this since even before the show, and we're agreed that he's a guy who knows how to win. He's a good fit for the England national team coach. He will bring through from the under-21 side players that have won before for him, and he will integrate them into the first team.
Darren, I think we have to be a little bit careful calling him a winner because he won it under 21 level.
But doesn't that make him a winner?
It makes him a winner on a 21 level.
But doesn't that still mean that he knows how to get over the line? De La Fuente, the Spain head coach,
I know he did, but that's the
exactly
only
the
comparison we can draw, really. I just think we have to be careful saying winner, 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 when actually, you know, it's a difference if someone like Guardiola or Mourinho walks in the door and says a winner, proven. I think let me just tell you to him, but it's not the same.
All right, let's just let me tell you. After half an hour of a very, very competitive, not to say spiky, first half in Lyon, France have taken the lead. Randall Kolo Muani picked her centre forward ahead of Kylian Mbappe, has scored the goal. And the fouling continues. Lucas Digne has just cleaned out one of the wide players of Belgium as well. When we come back, we'll move on to England's next game, in which Lee Carsley will be having his second go at being in charge of England, up against a man who's been in charge of Finland for nearly 9 years. That's next here on Kickoff.
on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.